Hello and welcome to another ASE video. Once again, Lenovo has been kind enough to send me a laptop for review. While they provided me the laptop on a temporary basis, they did not offer any compensation, and everything in this review is my own opinion. Today we are looking at a Lenovo Yoga 9i with a 14-inch touchscreen, a Core i7 1260p, 8 GB of RAM, and a 256 GB SSD. In addition to the charger, it came with a pen and case in the box. The case is of nice materials, the pen is active and charges via USB Type-C, using the same charger as the laptop. This is a higher-end 2-in-1 laptop. I've been pretty clear on my opinions on 2-in-1s in the past, but the Yoga line seems to address some of the issues I personally have with them, but not all. First and foremost, as with all laptops, I took the time to open this up before even powering it on. It has an awesome dual fan, dual heat pipe cooling system to try to keep this 12th gen CPU cool. But other than that, the only thing you can swap out on this system is the storage. CPU, RAM, and wireless module are all soldered to the system board, so you're not going to be wanting to open this up anytime soon. You better buy the configuration that works best for you. Now to open it, there are 4 screws along the front edge, 1 by each hinge, and then there are 3 hidden behind the buffer here. I hate when screws are hidden or when you have to disassemble part of the system but that may not go back together properly to actually gain access to the screws. This was 100% unnecessary and was done simply to make the system harder to access. There are also 3 different screw sizes, another big no-no for me. The ones in the front are short and a T5, the one at the hinge are a longer T5, and the hidden ones are short Phillips heads. Speaking of upgrades, let's talk about the RAM. Having soldered RAM to the system board is frustrating. I get it. It makes the laptop thinner and cheaper to produce, but, and I have a big one, the problem comes down to the fact that it makes the laptop have a very specific shelf life, and a lack of RAM is probably the thing that makes an otherwise fast system seem slow. 8 gigs of soldered RAM without any ability to upgrade is unacceptable in 2022 on anything but the most budget of budget systems. Just having a remote desktop session open and whatever runs with Windows at startup is consuming nearly 70% of my system memory. That is a bit crazy. Start opening up a few Chrome tabs, especially YouTube, and you're swapping stuff to storage. If you decide this laptop is for you, do not buy the 8 GB model. Buy the 16. The keyboard is an interesting affair. It has these dedicated keys down the right side of the keyboard. They are a dedicated key for the laptop performance, adding a background filter to the camera, changing the audio profile, a button to switch between light and dark themes, and the fingerprint reader. I'm confused as to why we have dedicated keys for these options. The performance mode swapping on my Legion is done by hitting the function key and the letter Q. This is a great option since the QWERTY keyboard is just sitting there and most of the keys do nothing when the function button is pressed. The filter option is also available in all video conference software I've ever used, so why do we need to have a dedicated button? The audio profiles, there are 3 of them, 2 which sound exactly the same. The third is just quieter. The laptop already has volume buttons. Why not just use those? The dark and light mode switching button. I've never known people to want to switch between the modes. Either you're a dark mode user or you're a monster who uses light mode. There is no in between. The fingerprint sensor should be integrated into the power button. Having it be its own dedicated key means that when this laptop is in tablet mode, you disable that feature. What sense does that make? More and more things are using these biometrics as a 2-factor option. So when you're in tablet mode, you disable that option and have to switch to laptop mode, or you're just going to use the facial recognition as your default option anyways. The last complaint about these buttons is that they push the keyboard off center. One of my favorite things about a 14-inch laptop is they don't have the number pad integrated, so the keyboard can and should be centered. This row makes the keyboard off-center. Why? It's ruining one of the best things about this category of laptop. The keys for the keyboard are just okay. They have short travel, but if you are used to any Lenovo consumer line laptop, such as Legion or IdeaPad, they'll feel like you're home. My Legion 7 has a nearly identical keyboard with a slightly longer throw, so it wasn't anything to switch over to this keyboard. I am typing up this whole review on the laptop, and it's acceptable. Because of the taller screen ratio, there's also plenty of wrist support. The touchpad is really good. It's nice and big, and it doesn't register my palm as clicks or movement when I'm typing. Overall, just nice. A big upgrade from my typical review units. The experience with the screen has been very mixed for me. It's a beautiful, bright IPS display that is a 16:10 aspect ratio with Dolby Vision, but it is a glossy touchscreen. In my office with the lights on, I spend the day staring through a reflection of myself. I am not a fan of glossy screens. I find them very distracting and the reflection of lights very frustrating. I understand the purpose for them, especially with the pen input, but for my personal tastes, I would rather pass on the touch interface entirely or have a matte touchscreen like the ThinkPads I've owned in the past. This is probably one of my biggest gripes of 2-in-1s is they tend to have a big glass touchscreen. The sound system on this computer is very impressive and absolutely one of my favorite things about it. There are speakers here on the hinge as well as downward firing, but those also have ports along the sides as well. So there's plenty of volume that comes out the user despite it being in laptop or tablet mode. They are loud, clear, with a great soundstage. They obviously cannot hit the lowest bass notes. They are still small laptop speakers, but they don't make me want to immediately grab a set of headphones or Bluetooth to a different set of speakers. The performance of the CPU is impressive. I think Intel is finally hitting their performance strides after being beat down by AMD for the last 4 or 5 years. Even the graphics are impressive. It doesn't quite outperform my gaming laptop with dedicated mid-tier graphics, but it comes darn near close, especially for how thin and light it is. Battery life is also quite impressive, averaging 8 hours or more with my typical use of watching videos, surfing the net, and remoting into my work computer. Playing games obviously cuts that time significantly, but you can play games quite well on this system. I threw on GTA 5 and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. They get respectable and playable frame rates with integrated graphics. Obviously, this is not a gaming laptop, but at native resolution, you're able to hover around about 30 frames per second.
cuidado, niños!
Should this Yoga 9i be on your wish list this year? I think if you bought it with the 16 gigs of RAM and the 512 gig SSD, I think it is a great laptop. Especially if you use that touch screen with the pen input. If you're any kind of artist or doing anything where that pen is important to you, taking notes, things like that, I think it is an excellent option. If you have no plans on upgrading the system, perfectly happy with that. I think it's a great system, but I cannot recommend to avoid the 8 gig model enough. Definitely go with the 16 gig model. Anyways, if you have any thoughts, comments, or questions, leave that down in the comment section down below. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.